Well, hopefully we learned a lot of things, but to be honest, we can't do almost anything with them, meaning we learn programming to do some interesting things, and more importantly, we want to do something useful, which we can't do right now. And that, although if you put your mind to it, there is a lot more that you can do already. But anyway, let's see an example. How can we create a menu? And what do I mean by that? Let's say you want to create a very, very simple calculator that does adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Okay, we want to create that. How can we do that? Meaning, how can I give the user the option to choose the operation he wants? Does she want to add something? Does he want to subtract something? Well, to do that, we can create a menu. And remember, as a side note, that your application doesn't have to have a graphical user interface. It'd be nice, which we will talk about it in next videos, future videos. But for now, we don't have a GUI. This usually is pronounced GUI, graphical user interface. Excuse my handwriting. Anyway, how can we use the terminal, that black window that you see, and provide the user with options? So before we begin, let's see how it can look like. Let's just say this is your terminal window, that black box that you run your program in. I think here we can ask for two numbers. Say this is the first number. Then we can ask for the second number. Then we can ask for the operation. Based on what user provides you with, we can make some decisions. But right now that we're talking about decisions, you should think of if, right? So how can we do that? This is called a menu. Obviously it's not graphical, but still it's a menu. Let's go do that. So as far as I figure, we need three inputs. One for a number, say enter your first number. Then we need two more. And I told you before, I think, if you want to copy the lines, hold Shift, Alt, and arrow key down, okay? Anyway, this is the first input, first number. Then we want the second number. And then we simply are going to ask for operation. Okay. I need to store these inputs into variables, obviously. So I'm going to have a variable num1. Try to use meaningful names so you can understand what you're doing. Meaningful names for your variables, obviously. So num1, then we go for num2, and we go for up. Obviously stands for operation. So let's think logic. How can we manage this program? What is our decision based on? Well, in this program, our decision will be based on the operation, right? So I'm going to say if this operation equals, what do we have? We can ask for a plus sign for adding, a minus sign for subtracting, and so on. So if that's the case, then do something. And remember, you guys, if you want to write something but you don't want to write code for it yet, you can simply use the keyword pass. That means don't do anything yet. Or you can put a hashtag here, meaning this is just a comment. We'll do something here later. okay? So if the operation was plus, do something. Elif, meaning otherwise, if operation equals minus, then we'll do subtract. Again, else if operation equals star, this is asterisk or star, pass. I'm not going to do the division. That's going to be a homework for you. All right. Now, if the operation was plus, what should we do? Obviously, if it's plus, we need to print A plus B. Else if, otherwise, if the operation equals minus, we want to print A minus B. And by the way, we don't have A or B, we have num1 and num2, but just bear with me. Otherwise, if it's an asterisk, then I want to print A times B. I promise you, your program will have a problem. I promise you. It'll run and it will execute, but you're going to have a problem. And you may say, well, yeah, the variable names are wrong, but that's not our problem. Let's change those, or we can simply change these, right? Okay, now everything is fine. Let's run this program and see what's going on. I'll hit F5. Python debugger, Python file. So, let's bring it up. Enter your first number, it's 2. Your second number, it's 3. Now it says operation. I'm gonna say plus, enter. And it says 23. How's that? 2 plus 3 is 5, isn't it? Well, because the input function always returns a string. So, again, an input function will always return a string. And as you can see, I'm just hovering over it, and VS Code tries to show me some things. And here you can see it says the return type. This arrow here shows the return type. It says the return type will be str, meaning a string. So remember that. If you want to use your input as numbers, you need to cast them, convert them into numbers. How did we do that? If we wanted integer, we could say int. And for now, for simplicity, we're going to do integer. Okay, so the second one, integer. But the third one, the operation. These are not numbers, so I don't need to do anything. It's just strings, just a character. So we're just fine here. Now let's start run the program again. F5. 2, 3, operation, give me plus, and it says 5. But this is not much of a menu, is it? Why, you ask? Because this program just runs once. Shouldn't the program run more than one time? So how could we do that? Remember the loops, and remember we could have infinite loops like this. If I say here, while true, well, true is always true, right? As we talked about before, the if or while, these kind of statements, they accept either true or false. That's it. If it's true, it's gonna happen. If it's not, it goes to the next one. So when you say while true, it means you do these things, and this true will always stay true. Okay, so as far as we know, this is a loop that will happen forever. All right, let's fix the indentation. I'm going to highlight them and hit tab so I can fix the indentation. Now we got a problem here. First of all, Python is case sensitive, right? So true, it's with a capital T. So now it's true, okay? Second of all, if this happens all the time, then we're going to have another problem, right? It's never going to finish. But let's run it just to see what happens. F5. Now it says enter your first number, say 5, 2, operation. This time I'm going to say minus. And as you can see, it goes on and on and on and on. How could we fix that? I hit Control C. That makes your program stop. Okay. So obviously I need a mechanism to stop the program whenever the user wants. Remember, it's the user's option. So shouldn't I give some information to the user first? Meaning, check this out. I'm going to say print, and let's create another variable. I'm going to call it S for simplicity, and I'm going to use 3 single quotations. If you remember, we talked about this. It's going to keep the formatting of your strings. It can be double quotation or single. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to say provide 2 numbers, hit Q if you want to quit. We could put this on the next line. And remember, if you want to use single quotations for your Q, then these should be double quotations because the compiler will mistake it. So I'm gonna make this double quotations. Okay. Now, when your program runs, the user knows what's going on. And just to make this more visible, I'm gonna put some asterisks or something here. Okay? Because this is a very important piece of information. All right. Now I'm going to say print S. So what's going to happen? The compiler makes this variable, then it prints it as we said here. First input, second input, operation, and goes for the loop. Okay, so let's just run it. As you can see, it says provide 2 numbers, then choose your operation. Hit Q if you want to quit, right? It's much better. I'm going to say 2, 3, operation plus. We're going to have a problem here. And as you can see, we do. So how can we solve this? We have a keyword called break. This makes the loop stop and the cursor of the program running jumps out of the loop, okay? So how could we use this break to fix our program? First of all, we have a problem. The problem is we're just asking the user once to provide information. If you want your program to run again and again and again, then you should ask for input again and again and again. But these are outside your loop, right? So we need to fix that. So I'm going to take this and move it inside the loop. Now what's going to happen, we print something, we come inside the loop. It asks for 2 numbers and the operation. Then it checks what's going on. Let's hit F5. Okay, information is printed. First number, second number, operation plus. And it says 5. But as you can see, it's not infinite. Why? Because the program has to stop to get other inputs, right? Okay, I'm gonna say 3 and 4. This time I want multiplication. Enter. Okay, seems fair enough. I'm gonna say 2 and 3, this time plus, and it's 5. But my problem is, if I hit Q, nothing will happen. Why? Because it tries to convert the Q to a number, and obviously you can't. That's one problem. Second problem is that We don't want to ask for that. The other problem is that we don't want to first ask for a number and then a second number. Let me stop the program. We don't want to ask for the first number, then the second number, and then for the operation. Because if the user is finished, then he wants to hit Q. Let's see what I mean. So the program is running. We are here, right? Okay, I'm gonna give it 2. Now we are here. I'm gonna give it 3. Now we are here. I'm gonna give it a plus. So this if was applied and happened. Now it turns back up and asking for the number again, another number again. But for the second time, shouldn't we ask what operation you want first? Wouldn't that be more reasonable? Or another thing you can do is this. Let's copy this line, bring it here. Remember, if you put it here, it's gonna be the part of elif. You want it a part of the loop. I'm gonna paste it here, okay? Instead of operation here, I'm gonna say quit. Let me run it and see what happens. F5, let me stop it. F5, first number 2, second number 2, plus, enter, it says 4. You wanna quit? Hit Q. No, I don't, I just hit enter. Okay, again, first number, second number, this time minus, it's -1. You wanna quit? No, just enter. So you see how we solved that? Because when the program arrives at while, it starts getting the first input, the second one, the operation. Whatever the operation is, one of these will happen, okay? Then it asks, do you want to quit? If you say yes, you'll quit. If you say no, meaning not Q, then it goes back up. Again, first number, second number, operation, one of these ifs. Again, asks, you want to quit? No. Go back up. First number, second number, operation, one of these ifs. You want to quit? You want to quit? No. Go back up. All right? Now, we have a problem. Let's hit F5 to see the problem. The problem is, if I give it the numbers and my operation, let's say I'm done. I want to hit Q to go out, but it won't, obviously. I'm going to hit Control-C to stop the program. So we need another elif here. I'm going to say if operation equals Q, then I want to break. What does break do? It breaks you out of the loop. Okay, let's try it one more time. F5, first number, second number, plus, it says 5. I don't want to quit, I just enter. So 3, 2, minus operation, and it's 1. Now I hit Q, I hit enter, but it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? The reason it's not working is very simple. Why? You are asking for input here, okay? Say the user says Q. Q will be stored here, but there is no if after it. So it goes back up to check for everything else. And the operation here will be overwritten. So these will happen again. Again, it asks for input, you hit Q, it goes back up, it asks for other. There is no if after operation here. And instead of elif, I'm going to say if. So what's happening now is you come to the loop, you get the first number, the second number, the operation, let's say it's plus or minus, whatever, one of these happens. Then it says you want to quit. If it says Q, it's going to break. Otherwise, it goes back up. A, B, operation, one of the ifs, you want to quit. If it's yes, it's going to break. No, it goes back up. So let's try it. F5, say 3, 2, plus, it says 5. I'm going to hit Q, enter, and the program just breaks. Now, there's just one more problem we need to take care of. Let's say the user runs the program, but for whatever reason, he doesn't want to do anything. It was by mistake. He wants to quit right now. What should he do? That problem, you solve it. Remember, guys, there are much more efficient ways to write this program. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible for you to understand. And remember one more thing. Python and most programming languages, it runs line by line. So if you put this if here, it doesn't matter because you're taking the input here. On line 18, I'm getting the input. So if I want to check it, it should be on line 19. Because if I don't, it just goes back up and gets overwritten by line 10. So remember, especially Python, it's a scripting language. It gets interpreted, not compiled, which we'll talk about later. What's the difference between compiling and interpreting? It goes line by line by line by line. So it's important if you put this here or here. There's a lot of difference. Well, as always, I hope you learned something and it was useful. If there was any confusion or if you had questions, leave it in comments. Cheers.